What's up? I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast,
where we interview successful businessmen and women to let you in on why success doesn't have a single formula to follow.
We also have a little bourbon tasting along the way, because why not?
Why not?
So guys, please enjoy this episode and let us know your thoughts at Bourbon and Business Podcast on Instagram.
Coming to you from the Bourbon and Business Studio here at IPS in Flowood, Mississippi. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast. How you doing this morning, Dakota?
I'm great, Tyler. It is clearly the afternoon.
Well, excuse me for messing up the time by 30 minutes. It's the afternoon now. For all our guests wondering, we're in the afternoon time. So
I mean, there's like 3 clocks, right?
I know this is life-changing information that y'all need, so I'm glad that y'all are getting this. We put nothing but the truth out. We
100%.
Even if you're off by 30 minutes, we're going to correct it here.
Yes.
So, well, you want to introduce our guest to us?
I do. Today we have special guest Nick Nanton, founder and CEO of Astonish Entertainment. Nick, welcome.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm a little offended. It just hurts to see your Ole Miss behind it because I'm a Gator, and the football season should just be over as far as I'm concerned. We could just write it off now. I hope that's a lie in 3 or 4 weeks, but right now we ain't got much hope. But great job to Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss. But you made me
We're putting a season together. We'll see how it ends. I put this up here for Dakota specifically.
I cannot stand filming right here with this thing behind me. Just atrocity.
What's your team?
Of a picture.
What's your team?
I'm a Stark Bulldog fan.
All right.
And we are 3-0, unranked for some reason. Hint, hint, wink, wink to the AP poll, but we should be. Ole Miss defeats 3 no-name teams, and they're ranked 7 in the nation for some reason. And then State being top 12, already gone. 2 more teams gone, crushed them, and then still not ranked.
Well, the AP's not watching this podcast. That's the first problem, number one.
Yeah, that's the issue.
I knew I liked you, Nick. I knew it.
There you go. Well,
I knew it.
I don't hate either of the teams, so we're in a good spot. So we can just talk.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we solved that, figured it out. So,
much better.
Well, Dakota, what are we? So we want to know. So we are not sipping today on the difference. We tried this on a different episode, and we ended up giving it was a 9.9,
9.8, 9.9, something like that.
Yeah, it was 10, somewhere around there. So this is top shelf, some of the best stuff we've ever had on the podcast, but we are not trying that today. Actually, today, Dakota, will you tell our listeners what we are trying?
Are you my vein of white?
Yeah.
I love it. So this is Bib and Tucker. It's a small batch. It's called the Classic 6. It's a 6-year aged bourbon. And if you'll read the little side down there, it says America's something like a rugged bunch of people. And back in the day when we were really trying to grow as a country, Bib and Tucker was like wearing your finest clothes. So
okay.
That's why they call it Bib and Tucker.
Cool.
Well, usually the bourbon has the opposite effect. But anyways, the bottle, it kind of looks like almost like something you see on a pirate ship. So it kind of throws you off a little bit.
It looks a little bit like a rum bottle.
Yes, but I will say...
Or something in a speakeasy, maybe. I think that's the vibe they were going with.
And maybe that's what they're going for. It is good, though. It's got a small burn to it. Did you see the proof? I'm thinking maybe like a 95. I don't know.
92.
Is it 92?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 92 proof, low proof. I'm going to have to give it, though, 8.1. So it's a good smooth bourbon. I think if you're trying to get an introduction to bourbon, this is a good one just because the smoothness of it. Now, it definitely does not have the notes and the characteristics of the difference, what we tried. This is, like top level, like the Ritz-Carlton. That's kind of more like the Marriott, it's good, but it's not the Ritz-Carlton. So, so we'll give it there. And then, the Ritz-Carlton.
3 continental breakfast, you got to pay for the breakfast. That's what we're going with here.
But good bourbon. And if you want to get a bottle of it, go to Cheers Vineyard in Gluckstadt, Mississippi, and pick you up a bottle. Well, Nick, we appreciate you coming on today. We kind of like to always start this. I know you've got a ton of things that you've done, so we're going to let you lay out to the listeners what those are. But how did you get to the point of founding your company? We would like to know about that.
The non-bourbon company or the bourbon company?
The bourbon.
The bourbon. Got it.
Yeah.
Right. So basically I was doing a documentary with Chris after Chris and I became friends. We met at an event one of our mutual friends was holding, and we ended up having a drink together. Shockingly, he had a glass of bourbon, I had a glass of red wine, because that's sort of been my thing for a long time, but I'm learning the bourbon world now, of course. But after we got to be friends and we were doing some work on his documentary, I'd noticed, we go do a nice dinner at the end of every shoot, and we'd have steak or whatever, and I'd have a nice glass of red wine. Chris would have a glass of bourbon. So one day I had this really dumb idea, because my brain gets that way sometimes, and I just actually I took Chris fishing with me with another buddy of ours named John Raymonds. And by the way, if you know me, I have no patience at all. So people wonder how I'm addicted to fishing, though, but it's because I have more hope than anyone you've ever met. Right? So that's why I can fish. So on the boat, I just say to Chris, "Hey, I got this dumb idea," and he's sort of like, "Light me up. I've heard a lot of dumb ideas." I'm like, "We should start a bourbon called The Difference. You get it?" He never split. He's like, "Oh yeah, we should." And it's like, so I just took that as a yes. And then I just sort of, over the next 6-7 months, I went down the rabbit holes of trying to figure it out. And like anything else, it's just who you built trust with, who you know, who's want to connect you with other people, and just sort of we ended up meeting our partner, Roy Milner, who's really the bourbon guy in our mix, right? Through actually some guys who live in Oxford, Mississippi, through Nick Weaver and Josh West of Blue Delta Jeans are the ones who connected me with Roy.
Okay. Yeah.
So I've been out to meet with them in Oxford when they first started hooking me up with jeans, and I was traveling, and just sort of, endorsed me. And so I knew Nick Weaver, knew a bunch of people in the bourbon world. And so I just hit him up, and, for like 6 months, he's like, "Oh man, I'm going to do this with you. I'm going to do this with you." And then eventually he realized he didn't have time to do it with me. So he introduced me to Roy. And then we actually went to just explore, me and Chris and Roy. And we were really just going to do what amounts to sort of like we want to do like a barrel pick, but we didn't want to do a barrel pick that was like Four Roses bottle with a sticker this size that said The Difference. Everyone, like all the traditional people that I knew in the liquor business, told me like I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I just had to do that. And so Roy said, "Well, no, come, I can show you some other ways." And he took us to Bardstown in the morning and Willett in the afternoon. And I'm like, Dan Calloway and those guys gave us a tour of Bardstown, and then Drew Colesby gave us a tour of Willett. So I knew clearly that Roy was the deal. Like people knew who Roy was and they respected Roy. So I checked that off. And then I'm like, at the end of the day, I was like, "Man, Roy, I don't know who we would pick to work with." He's like, "You don't have to, man. People just they like what you guys are thinking of doing. They're like bourbon is getting a lot more in the collaborative zone instead of competitive zone. Like, let's just figure out what you guys want to do and figure out who the right partners could be. And we could maybe partner with a lot of people over a lot of time." Like, "Oh, I didn't even know that's an option." So anyway, we went to dinner that night, and I talked to Chris after that. I'm like, "Well, we could do what we were talking about, doing sort of like a bottled something, limited edition. But man, wouldn't it be more fun to like go into the bourbon business with our friends?" Famous last words, right? And so we decided that would be more fun. And sort of long story short, we did a dinner a few months later when we were back at another event in Nashville, and Roy lives in Knoxville. Chris was going to be there, and I was going to be there. And we invited, I think, 18 friends, 15 plus us, and said, "Hey, we're going to start this bourbon called The Difference. Just assume we're going to lose all your money. We're not going to try to. And if you can't justify paying for this and being a part of this community we're building and drinking really good bourbon and never getting anything else, we don't want your money." And they're like, "No, take our money." Then I started to like throw their money. They're like, "Oh, wait a minute. We got to get like documents and stuff drawn up." But we had a bunch of friends who just thought it'd be a fun thing to do. And so we just said, "Look, it's going to be equal parts fun and community and profitability. And we're probably going to put profitability towards the back of that. Not that we're not after it, but we really want to try to build something unique, and it's going to take a little bit of patience." And so far everyone's been cool with it. We had a hard launch in February of 2025 this year. And I think we're just over 60 members now in early September. So it's working. I think the number one thing that surprised me was when we first launched it, we got people who joined. We got people who said, "Man, I wish I could afford that." And we didn't get a single person who said, "You guys are idiots. Like, I can't believe you thought people would do this." So that was a pleasant surprise. And I didn't think it was, but usually just get haters for whatever reason. And It's a really fun group of people. Our network, we're exposing our network to it. They're exposing their network. And it just the way we built it seems to attract the right kind of people. And we have a no a-hole rule, and that helps a lot. You just get the people who don't want it,
How tell us a little bit about the event. So I've seen several of them online, clips of it and things like that. But how are the events as far as, the networking possibilities that are at the event?
So they're great because, well, in October of 2020, we brought in our investors to let them try the bourbon for the first time. Now, the funny part is they didn't even try the bourbon. I'm fully subscribed to the investment, and no one's tried the bourbon, right? We had tried some of Roy's other bourbon. About half of us at the first dinner, and then I talked to their people. And I don't know whether to be honored or offended when everyone tried the bourbon for the first time. Like, oh my God, it's actually good. I was like, well, I'm glad you trust me, but yes, we're not going to screw around. Like, if I do something, I'm going to at least endeavor for it to be world class, and then the world can tell me if I'm wrong, right? And so I don't do anything that's not going to be world class. So we did that first event with just investors, and then we started signing up members, and soft launch December 2024. More hard launch February 2025. So since then, we've had one, we call them social. That's a shareholders social. We call it the Shareholders Society because if you follow me here for 1 second, never split the difference is the book. So the bourbon is called The Difference because you never split that. And our slogan is never split, always share. And so we call it the Shareholders Society because we never plan to actively sell outside of our community our bourbon. So if you want to hold your share of the special bourbon we have, you join the Shareholders Society. Now, if you've had more than one glass of bourbon, you're probably going to have to go watch that again later because there's a lot of wordplay in there, but there's a lot of it in there. So we did our first one in April in Vegas because that's where Chris lives. We had a blast. It was a lot of fun. I brought my friend. Like, we try to invite our friends out too, who just would be interesting for our members to meet. So I brought Dominic Cruz out. Dom is, UFC welterweight champion. Just a good friend of mine lives in Vegas too. We brought out our friend Stephen Kotler, who's got 13 New York Times bestselling books on flow and other stuff. So we try to keep. My brother is a psychiatrist, which explains a lot about me, by the way. But he says there's a reason people are addicted to slot machines, not vending machines. It's because you never know what's coming out, right?
Yeah.
So what we try to do, and what I think we've done with these quarterly releases and stuff, you can't wait to try it. Number one, at the events, you don't know who's going to show up. I can tell you it's a surprise right now, but I do have one of the main anchors, who's a good friend of mine on the SEC network, is coming to this next one in October. So we added to this one so that there's more networking opportunities. Two things. Number one, I've always had cocktail parties at my events, but I've never had an event that's based on liquor. That's like a whole different deal. You got to tell people to slow down. That's interesting, first of all. It's like you're there to drink. Like, whoa, a minute. Number two, people loved the event, but it's like three hours ish. And so we're like, oh, let's just set up some, like, what would we do if we were going to an event? We'd either go golfing, go fishing, like try to find some way to spend more time with the people to get to know them. So we're doing we're doing adventures essentially. This before the Shareholders Social coming up in October, and we're doing it again in Louisville because our new members hadn't been there yet. We're doing sort of unique. We're calling it the Negotiators Trail. With Chris, we're going on a unique bourbon trail experience behind the scenes, some things that you couldn't just go buy yourself. We're getting it because of our partnership with Roy and Bardstown and others. And then everyone has about 7-8 hours during the day to hang out and get to know each other while we experience something new and fun. I don't like meetings because they take place in a boring room and I got to sit there. I like experiences that I can learn from. So we're putting people in an experience they can learn from and hang out. And then we'll have our social at the end of the day after that, which again, that's a lot of drinking. So we're just going to feed people well and all the other things. But you'll have an entire day to get to know everybody, and then you'll see them again at the social, and then more people will come to the social. And so we're trying to provide those opportunities for people. And then when each quarterly release comes out, we do an online session, a share session, we call it, where we have sort of our whiskey sommelier, Daniel Whittington, who does like a proper, you should taste orange creamsicle and all the things I can't taste, but he talks about all that, and he's really nice. I like him. He's great. But then we actually break everybody up into like Zoom breakout rooms randomly so that you can share what you actually taste and then also get to know the other people in that Zoom breakout for 20, 30 minutes. So we're building a community. Obviously, the longer you stay, the more you'll know people. I just know from the people we sort of seeded it with the investors and others, it's a really good group of entrepreneurs and professionals, men, women. We have some people who don't drink. They just know the value of sharing the bourbon, which has been fun. And so it's a really cool community so far. And we got to, from a business perspective, we just got to see if we can scale it. and we're getting there. We're learning. I'd like to be at 100 members within our first year, and then 500 members within our first 5 years. But I don't want to do that to sacrifice the quality of the room or the quality of the bourbon or anything.
To speak to the product, it is very good.
Thank you.
And Chris said you throw a heck of a party.
Yeah.
So
Well, I try.
We always run into, anytime we're trying a new bourbon, me and Dakota, because we are so honest as far as like, we're not even going to lie about it being 30 minutes late,
Right.
but we're sitting down with people and they're giving us their product and it's like, what if it's bad? You know what I mean? But, we had y'all's, it was phenomenal. And I think, I know, Nick Hunt and several other people have spoke highly of the events and things like that. So I think that y'all have a great product in what you're doing.
Nick, tell us a little bit about like working with all of these people who are bigger names. I mean, they're well known. Some of them are household names. What's that been like working with those people? What have you learned from those people? What would you pass on as far as like, because the average person is not going to meet half of the people that just in your contact phone list, right? As far as like fame and fortune and whatnot, but like you've been gifted this opportunity to work with some of the biggest names in America, in the world even. So what's that been like?
I mean, it's been a dream come true because most of them, I mean, I would say to a T, no one's been a jerk, but I'll tell you later who, and you won't be surprised because you know the name, but
it's Tyler, isn't it? It's Tyler.
No, not Tyler. Everyone's been really cool because the way like when I'm doing documentaries and stuff, the way I get introduced is essentially whoever I'm working with on the main documentary typically makes the ask and I'm coming in as a friend. And so I get treated like a friend, which is really nice. And then, I was really well raised. I have two amazing parents who taught me, to be, to have a lot of faith and have a servant's heart. And when you show up that way, there's not a whole lot of people who will shun you. When you start getting into ego clashes, that's where, that can go sideways. And I just never needed to play that game. And so I've been really blessed. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger actually has a great book called Be Useful. And like, I think that's like one of the secrets to life. It's don't be a doormat, but be useful. Right. So I have only had the success I've had for, I think, a couple of reasons. Number one, Chris and I both met through a guy named Dan Sullivan, number one entrepreneur coach in the world. And Dan says, if you want to build a business bigger than you can handle, you got to just do three things. Do what you say you're going to do, show up on time and say please and thank you. And like, I was raised to do that. So it makes like life is way better that way. And I would encourage anyone who doesn't adhere to that. It's like a great secret to why you see other people winning and you can't figure out why. Number two, just figure out how can I be helpful to other people, man? What can I do? Like Chris, I had no need to start a bourbon with Chris. I didn't even know if it was going to make money but it just seemed like, man, this could be cool. And what could we learn? And what could we do? Like, how can we deepen our relationship? And then I've been a talent scout my entire life. Like I know I can't do it for the most part. I can't do many things at all, but I know what's good. I know what's world class. And if I do that, all I have to do is just enroll other people who are world class and make it worth their while, have a great exchange of value so that they want to be involved. And I found like, if you can, I guess it's a formula for success because it's worked. Certainly not everything I put my hands to turns to gold. Some of it turns to manure, I'll be honest, but that's part of the deal. So all that, but I would just say it's just been a blast serving these other people. And as a music guy, like I'm a songwriter first. So I'm currently ranked in the top 5% of songwriters in the world. Don't be jealous. I can almost afford a family vacation half a time a year, but it's fun. And so like as a music guy, like in the last year and a half, I want to be honest. So I don't remember the exact, for sure within the last 2 years, I've interviewed Dolly Parton, Keith Richards, Joan Jett, Mark Ronson, Bruce Springsteen. I'm actually going to John Bon Jovi's house this week to interview him. I got some other insane, and it's just a dream come true because when you know what you're doing, like my crew's insanely talented and they're all really well raised too. They got great manners. Like film crews, one of the things you just probably wouldn't expect. You may have seen it, but like they show up like they're homeless. They expect that the world is there for them because their only job is to get the best shot possible. So they will go into someone's home and not, in the way I was raised, not ask the lady of the house, is it okay to move anything? And like, they'll just tear up the house and then leave. And it's like, bro, no one's ever going to invite you back ever again. So my crew does that. And it's actually funny. All my main crew, like 90% are all former or current musicians that play in bands that tour that. And so like, and we have this funny thing too about like when we've been at other things where there's been other film crews there too. And we look at their style and we're like, oh, don't got it. You know, like you could tell the way someone shows up, like the way they walk, the way they talk, if they're friendly, like if they've got style. It doesn't matter what your style is, but do you have a style? If you don't have a style, I don't want to tell you. And so it's been really fun working with those people. They've all been super kind. Yes, Dolly Parton is every bit as nice as everyone says she is. You know, just everyone has been there, honestly, to serve the purpose of our documentary. Got a couple people who try to hijack the documentary, make it about them. You learn pretty quickly that ain't going to go real far. But I mean, to it, Magic Johnson, Coach K, I mean, everybody's been super nice, man. Super nice.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, so you've won 22 Emmys. Tell our listeners a little bit about some of your projects that you've had success with.
Tyler also has a side music career, and he's testing out some product, so he's a little curious about what that's like.
Yeah, if you want to know how not to do it.
He's going under a different moniker though, so you're not going to find him as just Tyler Wilshire.
Got it. Well, I too could be brutally kind but honest if you ever need a review. Yeah, so a couple things I've done that have been fun. I did Dickie V's documentary that ended up ESPN and Disney ended up buying that. You know, they weren't interested when I first started, but you know, things change. And so that's one of the examples to tell people, if you feel like, use your own language, but if you feel like God called you to do it anyway. Like you just don't know what's going to happen. Right. I did a documentary called Triple Take that the movie Sound of Freedom is based on, actually. I did a movie called Operation Toussaint. That was my first anti-trafficking movie in Haiti. That's on Amazon. I did Chris's documentary called Tactical Empathy. That's out on Amazon. We actually just released it on YouTube too, just so the world could see it. Yeah. And I got a bunch in the works right now, finishing up Kathy Lee Gifford's bio with her. Working on the Blind Boys of Alabama's documentary, which has just been a dream as well. Working on a documentary on the Hit Factory, the most successful recording studio in history, which is why I'm doing a bunch of these music interviews. So a lot to come. But yeah, I've done over 75 docs, a bunch of them on Amazon and other platforms.
What is it about the documentary that just fascinates you so much? Because, I mean, people love a good documentary, right? There's something about it that just enthralls us to learn more about someone's life or this company or, you know, whatever that's just successful or has become a household name. I mean, I'm thinking about even like Anna Delvey, that documentary, and you know, like people, even like criminals and stuff, the Ted Bundy documentary, like people just become fascinated with this stuff. What is it?
So the truth is greater than fiction. It's stranger than fiction. It's a famous line, right? And it is. And so funny enough, like documentaries are like really I don't know if they're in a boom, but like they've been having a heyday for a while. And I think they finally, it may not be fair to say, but I would say, I think the quality of documentaries is at an all-time high. There's some crap ones too, right? But I think there's if you go on Netflix, you can find, or any of the platforms, you can find a lot. I don't know if I'd ever intentionally watched a documentary before I made my first one, so it's just sort of funny how I got into it. I was coming back from my second or third Grammys, was getting no closer to winning a Grammy, had my branding agency, knew what awards could do for your career, knew I wasn't getting any closer to Grammy, wondered what other awards I might win, and I Googled how to win an Emmy, and I followed the directions, and it worked. So it turns out that works. But I think what it is about documentaries for me is like, you could probably tell, I already told you I don't have any patience. I have severe ADHD, and I thought I hated learning because they put me in a desk for 8 hours and try to beat your uniqueness out of you. And I'm not knocking the school system. It's just what they got to do the way it's set up, right? We could deal with that another day. And then I tried, and so when I realized, like it wasn't but a couple of years ago, I realized I love learning. It's just I love learning in the real world from the best in the world. So, I've interviewed Tony Robbins 3-4 times. I mean, like anybody, I could drop names that are like, I'm literally learning from people who are world class. They are, and I've come to a point where I'm no longer enamored by celebrity. I'm only enamored by people who are so good at what they do, the world cannot ignore them. Mm-hmm. That's where it's fun. So that's what brought me into documentaries and like scripted, I'm producing and we're in pre-production. Some call it pre-production. I call it purgatory, but in some scripted things, like I'm not currently at all putting my name in the running to direct those, because you got to like shoot me drinking this and having this conversation like 25 different times. And like what I love about documentaries, we shoot it and we're done. It ain't happening. Yeah. Like I don't have to go 25. They're like, no, so like it works with my personality. My network grows every day. I get to connect with more people. I love people and I love being useful. And it just seems that there's a place for that in the documentary space. So I've loved it.
Yeah, and I think the beautiful thing about a documentary is typically, like you said, if it's done well, which there's a lot of them out there now, you can learn something. You're actually learning something from a real person most times that have done something, and you can take away from that. Whereas, a great movie is a great movie, but at the end of the day, we know that it's fiction, and so it's a little bit harder to take those truths from that versus if someone that actually did these things. So,
amen, man. It's been a blast.
Tell us a little bit. So as media continues to change, how are your companies changing to bring more storytelling to people globally?
Yeah, we're just trying to find, there's 3 absolutes in life. Most people only talk about the first 2, death and taxes. The third one is the best story always wins. So I don't care, and people fabricate stories too, right? Which is not what we should be doing. I mean, if it's known as fiction, but just using AI to make something look real is a bad idea. But so I don't care what the medium is. Every media is just a medium for sharing stories. And so we just try to figure out, is this a medium we think we can be effective in? Like, I'm terrible at social media for the most part, and that's okay. I don't really care. And so, we have people who help, but it's not, we're getting better at it because you should. But like, I'm not currently like enamored with TikTok storytelling. So like, I'm not trying to do it. If I hire someone who is, and I need to do that, I will. But so all the new media that comes out, we basically look at it from a lens of how can this be useful to us? How can it make us more effective in storytelling? And if the answer is we're not sure, okay, let's just keep exploring. Or if it can't, we just don't worry about it.
Love that.
What would you tell a young person out there that says, hey, maybe they want to get into the documentary space? What advice would you give them?
Man, every day you're not doing something, you're getting behind, you're falling behind. There's not many things in life you really need like a license to do. Even I have a legal license. I don't practice law, but I'm a member of the Florida bar. But like, you can still do a lot. I went to law school and I never stepped foot in a law office one day in my life. Like, I think that's a lot of people. And it turns out I didn't want to do it anyway. But like but I could have been an intern if I was really interested in law, which I wasn't. I just wanted to get a law degree because I'm an immigrant and that's what I was told I was supposed to do. And so it was good advice, by the way. And so I just, but I could have been clerking for a lawyer or at a judge or working at a law firm. So like, every day you're not starting your day behind, and just know that the first thing you do is going to suck. And the second one's going to suck less, and the third is going to suck less, and the fourth. So like, just start with the suck, man. Just like, don't worry about it. Like, just do your best, and whatever you're not good at, find someone who's good at it and have them help you. It's like, I do that today.
Embrace the suck.
Yep.
I love it.
Wise words. Yep. So many people looking for the shortcut, but there are no shortcuts to success.
Not true success.
Well, Dakota, why don't you give us your thoughts on?
It's called Bib and Tucker.
Yeah, Bib and Tucker. I can't remember anything. So.
Bib and Tucker, I got a little hint of vanilla, nice burn, but a little lacking to me. There's a decent oaky vibe to it, is what I'm going to call that. I'm going to land at an 8.4.
8.4. So we'll land at 8.4 today.
It is interesting, though. We've talked to a sommelier before who was on this podcast, Mark Borchetta.
I thought you were talking about me.
Absolutely not. Couldn't even remember the name of the bourbon. He informed us, though, that, there's your past experiences influence your palate and how you experience new things when it comes to taste. And he was like, there was something where he and another girl that he was working with were tasting this bourbon, and she was like, yeah, I'm getting like hints of chlorine, like a pool. And he was like, well, you were a swimmer your whole life. So like, that's something that's like ingrained in your head subconsciously to where you don't even think, you just kind of taste it sometimes. He's like, I'm tasting wet grass because I used to mow grass every Saturday or, whatever when I was growing up. So it's weird how our past influences, even when it comes to taste, influence our tasting ability in the future. So how much more so that our past experiences in life influences our future experiences.
True. Yeah. I picked up some chicken and dumplings in that.
Did you?
Yeah. But
that's that Black Hawk, Mississippi there.
Well, hey, Nick, tell our listeners, if someone out there is looking to connect with you, find you on social media, what is the best way they can do that?
At Nick Nanton, if you just spell my name correctly, you should find me. Or Astonish Entertainment is our company. AstonishENT.com will get you there. Get you to find where we're at too. But yeah, man, I'm around. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick.
Well, to all our listeners, have you streamed this podcast? If you give us a rating and follow us on social media, and we will see you next week.
Hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
If you have any feedback or would like to be featured, reach out to us at bourbonandbusinesspodcast@gmail.com.
Or find us on Instagram at Bourbon and Business Podcast.
Thanks again for listening.
Follow us for more content and info on the next episode.